What are the benefits for a landlord buying at auction? Why should they start looking into auction properties?
Is there regional hotspots for auctions at the moment in the UK?
We deal with this a lot. It goes to our commercial team. Our commercial team have a pool of investors, companies that we work with. If you buy bulk, we all know you're going to want a little bit of a discount.
Ryan, why is auction a dirty word?
The misconceptions that your property's too good, it's too expensive, you're trying to sell it quickly and cheaply. And that's why a lot of sellers think that auction's not the right route for market for them. When in not most circumstances, but there is a need for a lot of sellers in agencies to have that white label auction platform to use and utilize. And, you're supposed to advise the seller to use the best route to market.
Because I always think auction, and in my head, I kind of have, someone died there. It's an absolute mess. There was a problem. Something somewhere is meaning it's had to go that route. Is almost like the B plan, isn't it? It's kind of the B plan to the main problem, to the main sale route. But I just, this day and age, it just feels like it's becoming more and more frequent, and different buzzwords being attached to it as well that we spoke about off camera. So it feels to the public a little bit of an education piece around how it can benefit them, just a normal seller. So what would be the benefit of a normal seller? Could be a landlord, this show's for landlords. So it could be a landlord with tenant in situ, or it could just be a seller that's gone, I've had 10 bad experiences with estate agents and I want to skip that little bit of middleman process and could just go straight to the end result. But what's the benefit?
We would always like to be plan A.
Yeah.
And most agents that use our services, they'll try the private treaty route first. Private treaty route doesn't work. And we all know being the second agent, especially in this marketplace, works quite well. We are, in theory, that second agent and different route to market with a different opinion. The key points for a seller to consider and think about is no commission to pay. You have a fixed timescale, so you know exactly when you're going to be exchanging and completing if you have a potential buyer and offer to consider. And the buyer's paying a non-refundable reservation fee, all with the security of the reserve price is set, so you're not going to be accepting any offer lower than that. It's great. Most sellers, once you say those sort of 3 or 4 USPs to our platform, most sellers are open to it. Then it's just about the circumstance and reason for move, and the price, whether it's suited to that route of market or whether it's going to continue down that private treaty.
There's another dirty word in estate agency in our industry at the moment, which goes like this: conveyancing. Conveyancing is definitely something that at the moment is a real bugbear for a lot of agents, a lot of sellers, and whatever the reason may be, that just the stamp duty craziness where we had that holiday has resulted in transaction volumes going through the roof and solicitors becoming, in general, pretty slow. So for a seller, I guess I'm thinking, schools, we got September is the kind of moving kind of thought for a lot of people at the moment. It's like, right, I've got to get this all done and dusted before school term. I want it done and dusted. So for an average seller, I guess something where they're thinking, well, worst case scenario, it might be 6 months for me to find a buyer, get moved. Is it probably not worst case, probably average at the moment, in fairness. But with auction speed, what are we looking like from the old mallet going down to actually being in a position where you can move and not worry about missing the school cutoff?
Legally, you don't need to have a legal pack to sell your property with auction, but obviously the price would affect that. So let's just go that main tried and tested route that there's a legal pack available for that property. The buyer would consider purchasing the property, offers accepted. They would commonly have 28 days to complete, because most of our transactions, 97% of our transactions last year were unconditional. So at the fall of the hammer, you're exchanging your contract and moving out in 28 days or 20 business days, because we know that conveyancers don't work weekends, unlike estate agents.
Fridays.
Or Fridays,
or Mondays.
We'll meet them on the golf course. So we can tailor that, and we've had exchanges take place with longer completions of 2, 3, and even one quite recently at 6 months. That is very rare, but obviously we'll accommodate if buyer and seller are both happy too, because that's our aim, isn't it, to make sure everyone's happy.
Mm-hmm.
And if everyone is happy, then we'll proceed with the deal.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've seen a stat that the auction market, and I use the term loosely auction, we'll probably get into what is an auction, what is a secure sale, what is the branding for it later. But I've heard a stat that this market has doubled over the last couple of years. What are the benefits for a landlord buying at auction? Why should they start looking into auction properties?
At the moment, rents are higher than ever. So they can capitalise on purchasing a property quicker and capitalising on the higher rents. With such huge demand at the moment, it makes sense that if you can purchase a property now rather than the conveyancing of 5, 6 months' time, that bubble might have burst, and that will affect your yields and your budgets.
And you listened to Uncle Dave's podcast. You said you did. So thanks for doing that. And he said buying at auction with a mortgage is a no-no. He shut me down faster than me being 18 in a nightclub again. Quite frankly, this is your right to reply.
There was a quarter of last year, and I think for quite a few months, where I know at one point we had 67% in 1 month of the sales that went through were buying with a mortgage. And I think even higher than that were first-time buyers, I think. I'll get the stat and I'll comment on the podcast below when it comes out. But most of our transactions are with a mortgage. We are for the estate agent, the high street agent, however that's deemed nowadays, with different hybrid models out there. But yeah, anyone and everyone can purchase a property with us. It's not like you've got to be this sitting in your ivory castle, sitting on hundreds and hundreds of £1,000s, millions of cash. You can have a 10% deposit and purchase a property in auction.
I think this is an issue with understanding of what an auction is. I used to work for a high street agency that had an auction arm, and every month or every 2 months they'd have a physical auction in a business park somewhere where I'd go and do the running sometimes, and I would see the same faces turn up every single month who you knew they were big time, and they would just go and hoover up those properties. And on the rare occasion that a house in a specific road, in a specific town where you just know it's a local buyer, some very, very nervous people sitting on their hands, trying not to blink, would come to specifically try and buy that property. So where are we now compared to that model that was 5-10 years ago?
The model has moved, grown, and changed, and you're seeing a lot of the ballroom auctions. A lot of them are changing their model to do the online auction route, and I think that's the better route. If you're a national auction company like ourselves, it's very difficult to. You start pulling properties, you can't get the buyers to turn up at the ballroom auction because of geographical boundaries that working with yourselves. Imagine if our next in-room auction was in Birmingham, Manchester, Newcastle, where our head office is. People aren't going to travel all that way to maybe get a property.
Yeah, that was always my opinion. I'm not driving to central London for one lot in Bracknell that I may or may not get.
We work with a database of buyers ourselves, so we will try to push that property anyway, because we believe that some estate agents just rely too heavily on the property portals. If it's priced right, it will sell. When if you go Bracknell, for instance, and a 2-mile radius looking for a 2-bedroom flat as a first-time buyer or an investor, you're going to get 150 properties, and why would you go for that one over the next one? So we will know who's our top 10 buyers for certain types of properties in certain parts of the country. That being said, the platform is completely transparent. You can see, as a seller, you can see from bidder 1, bidder 2. There's an open platform there where the timescales are ticking down. Don't get me wrong, if you do bid, that timescale does increase so that you can't try and nick in at the last moment, like eBay, with 1 second to go and place your offer.
Yeah.
The bid will extend to the time will extend by 15 minutes, so that people can make a informed decision whether they want to still proceed at a higher price. I think that's the most important thing to take, is the transparency to it, that we're not just selling to, oh, that's our mate that's bought 10 properties from us previously. We are working for the seller every single time to make sure that it's the best buyer at the best possible price in today's market.
What about due diligence for people buying at auction? Because if you buy a house, and just on traditional market, first time buyer or investor or whatever, typically your screening process is a couple of dodgy photos from the agent online, floor plan if you're lucky, video if you're looking at one of ours, no video if you're looking elsewhere, and a bit of write-up that says close to commuter links, M4 corridors, and the blah, blah, blah chat that they just kind of copy and paste. Then you look at the house and you're pretty much, that's it. That's like the due diligence that you get buying that property. You have to really go and do a lot of your own stuff. But what I do like about auctions is you do get more information than that, don't you? You get more security as a buyer.
Yeah, the legal pack, from a buyer's perspective, they can see searches, they can see who owns the property, special conditions, all of that, all of the things that you can't see buying when private treaty, because your offer is accepted, and then you're in the hands of the gods at some stages of your buying process, because it takes, as we mentioned with the delays of conveyancing, takes them quite a while to get the management pack if it's leasehold, or a draft contract even. And is there restrictions on the development, leasehold property, wherever it may be? So ours is a lot more open and transparent even before bidding.
It's almost at stage 2, isn't it, of a normal transaction? You get to see the information at stage 2 from day one, rather than having to spend 300 quid via a solicitor, obviously go in the bidding war if it's a certain type of property, do your mortgage application, do a credit dip, blah, 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 blah. You kind of get that information prior, which is nice. Is there regional hotspots for auctions at the moment in the UK? 2023, we're approaching the middle of the year. Are there kind of regional hotspots where it's most active?
The auction platform started in the northeast, so that's where majority of properties will go straight to auction rather than try private treaty. We've got 28 estate agents in the northeast. A large portion of those will go straight to auction. It's more commonly used. It's like it's just travelling down the A1 and M1, and it's coming further and further south. Most London agents, we say London and home counties, have some form of either being affiliated to a auction service, know an auction provider they can use and capitalise when needed. There's always those hotspots where you've got the likes of, from our perspective, Reading, Slough, where we're based at the moment. Bracknell seems to be getting there. That's a hotspot where we're sitting at the moment and not too far from. We see Wales as a bit of a gold mine. It's a bit of an untapped resource, and no auction provider is sort of utilising that market, where we've now sort of pushed and driven that areas. Kent seems to be a very active market as a county. It's one of our more active home counties. Where it is actually, in fact, Kent. We get a lot of, the USPs, and one of the things that you liked about our platform was the property passbacks. Kent seems to be, a lot of agents reap the rewards of our USPs with property passbacks.
So that's interesting to hear. It's pretty much rippling around everywhere, and I think Mike said, it's doubled. Are your expectations that the 2% of current transactions that has gone from 1 to 2%? Do you think that will climb over the next decade again? Do you think it will go to 4%? Is it going to be that momentum that takes it there, or is it kind of where it is now forever?
That 1% we know is worth millions and millions of pounds in the industry. I left estate agency 4 or 5 years ago now, believing that auctions was the new up and coming thing, and it's only getting bigger. More industry bodies are recognising auctions and seeing how it can be utilised in everyday life within agencies, and I can only see it getting bigger and better. It's never going to go and surpass private treaty. It just won't. I'm a realistic person. But if you look at the likes of America and Australia, for instance, over 60% of their transactions are through auction, not through private treaty. So if we can get to 10% in the next 5-10 years, great. But there's enough of the pie for all of us to eat.
I mean, people typically hate the moving process, the legal moving process in England, not the UK, but in England, people always associate or always kind of suggest, why couldn't we be more like the Scottish market? Or, you look at some of the other countries as well and you think it just feels more secure. And even in our country, we spoke about this, you look at, renting a property or buying a car or buying a new home in comparison to a second-hand property sale through normal transaction. There's at least reservations involved in those. It's not even that for sales, and unless you're using, like a Gazelle that we work with, for example. So it does feel like it needs a push in that direction, just for everyone's security, I would say, and emotional security as well, because it's stressful as hell.
It's always amazed me that it's the most expensive thing you could ever buy, and people probably look around the property for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
When I know for a fact, my partner, we recently purchased a second-hand Ford 4x4, and we looked at the car twice for best part of about 45 minutes. Absolutely tearing the previous MOTs apart and what's gone wrong with the car previously. Has it been fixed? You don't do that when you look around a property.
No, just look. Oh, yeah, it's got a roof on it.
That'll
do.
You kick the tires of the house, and then you end up buying it, and you're stuck with it for the next 30 years potentially on your mortgages. And obviously, we've gone through the perils of mortgages at the moment, but it's scary. It's scary, the purchase process.
It is crazy. I mean, if you're a generation above us, you might tap on a few walls and check the water pressure. If you're our generation, you look at your phone, check whether you can get signal and 4G, or I don't want 5G because it's worse than 4G. Yeah. But if you can get 4G rather than 5G or 3G, that's pretty much the sort of boundaries of buying a property. So if the other stigma that's attached to auctions is cheap, below market value, but cheap as in area cheap and level cheap. So, if we put property values into like league tables, you got Premier League is kind of $1 million plus, then you got Championship is kind of that kind of mid market of say half a million up to $1 million, and then everything below. I would always have associated auction with League Two stuff. But what's the biggest value transaction that you've experienced at your company through auction?
Biggest was a £9 million portfolio. We've had multi-million-pound houses go through that. I've got to be careful what I say regarding that property, as we mentioned. But the most expensive property that we can talk about that we have got case studies on that we can share was 2.3 million. Not too far from actually where we're sat at the moment.
It was Mike's house.
Yes. I can tell by the gold taps. And but then you look at the flip side of that coin, and we've been part of selling £9,000 garages in London and home counties. We just want to be part of the process with agents. We're not about, we don't want that. We'll never turn business away if there is a deal to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. We still think like the good old fashioned estate agents, like, we worked in that market of, well, I certainly started in 2002, 2003. And you can see that salesmanship has sort of gone somewhere where people are now sort of not advising their client the best way possible. We just want to be part of the process. And if it's selling a £9,000 garage or selling a multi-million-pound house, we just want to have those conversations. We say to people, all we need is a warm lead to do a deal with agents, and pass the details across and we'll be happy to help.
So here's an example. We were talking about obviously how we sell a property, private treaty. We go back to selling my house. It wasn't £2.3 million before anyone jumps on, but I sold my house recently. It's going through
for 3 million.
Yeah, it's been going through for a while. Let's just put it that way. I priced it very, very competitively. I got 6 buyers through the door on the day. I had 4 offers. I could have auctioned it on the front lawn, quite frankly. I chose the buyer who was a cash buyer. If I'd have put an auction business into the process, how could I have made that more secure or made that work for me in a better way?
People look at, let's just do nice round numbers. I'm not a mathematician. If your property was worth £100,000, actually worth, not what you'd market it for, because the marketing price and the sale price are two completely different things. What you're actually going to sell for. So you're selling it for the property for £100,000. The reserve price we would want would be around 85, £90,000. But the guide price can be up to as low as 10% below. So imagine if you was marketing the property with no success at £110,000, £120,000 to accept that £100,000 offer. Imagine if we had that property at, say, £75,000. How many more times do you think our phone's going to ring compared to yours? How many more inquiries do you think? And that's where our platform is designed to start low, go high. Private treaties designed to, in the average market, to price high to go low. We usually end up meeting in the middle, where by the time you factored in 5-6 months worth of mortgage payments, the seller's factored in estate agency fees, conveyancing, a bit of hurt and pain with the fall through rates, predominantly anywhere between 10 and 25% sometimes, depending on the market. Then you're actually meeting in the middle. If people's mortgage payments are £1,000, well, if probably £100,000, but if their mortgage payments were £1,000 a month, well, now all of a sudden we're at £5,000-6,000 estate agent fees, £4,000. There's £10,000 already. So where they're accepting that £100,000 offer, are £90 to £95,000 offer to get the deal done within a 28-day exchange completion doesn't sound that bad all of a sudden once you start breaking down those numbers.
Is there a particular statistic in terms of, for auctions, they go at X price, they go at guide price, and they achieve Y? Is there kind of that normal statistic? Like in agency, you would say, right, last year, in the market, the booming market that we saw for 2 years, it was probably like 97% of asking price was getting achieved. This year, it's probably closer in terms of, if you were looking at the first price it was listed at in 2023, it's probably more in the high 80s, I would say, in terms of figures. So what
we want that stat. We all want that stat, and I honestly don't know the stat. We're trying to figure out a way of doing an algorithm to work out what that stat is.
Because as someone that wants to invest, like I want to invest in these properties, and I look at the auction properties up and down on the Rightmove map. And in particular, I've been looking quite actively on the South Coast to try and see something down there. And where my struggle sits is I look at it and I think, well, clearly it's the cheapest in the marketplace. Let's say it's on a 250. I just don't have a bloody clue what it's going to sell for. And then because I have that grey area of fuzz, I just kind of go, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine there's a lot of people like me that haven't done it previously that just look at it and go, it's too uncertain. I don't know. I need some more touchy-feely.
Yeah, that's where you've got the ballroom auction. And you're almost dictated to of 3 or 4 viewing slots usually on the ballroom auction. Then it goes to the ballroom auction to place your bids, and you've got a 2-3 minute window. So from the seller's point of view, to get as much money as possible in 2-3 minutes. From a buyer's point of view, they're going, oh God, it's going more than I thought it would. How much more do I really want to offer? And you sort of get caught up in the moment. With our platform, commonly our auctions run for 28 days. The reason why we do that is you can get your ducks in a row if you're needing to raise some sort of finance, or if you want to get additional surveys. Everything's done a bit more calmer, slower. So we're working for seller to get the most amount of money possible, and we're trying to find the best buyer in that 28-day window. So hopefully that should put your mind at rest that you can go see it the week after. You can go see it. You can go see it again if you really want to for the third time, because I think second and third viewings, I'm being told, are happening more and more. They are with us. I can see from our viewing stats how many times the successful buyer is actually viewing a property. It's 2 or 3 times sometimes. 2 or 3 times. It's not like they're just doing it,
And taking the
Yeah,
time to make sure
it's
it feels right.
yeah, it's you've got to. It's unless you're an investor where you're doing it for the numbers, it's a you got to have your heart in the property,
Yeah.
and you got to make sure that it's the right time. I always, in agency, I used to say to people, if you want to go round, it's pointless. Keep coming round on a Saturday. Come round at 6 o'clock at night when you can see where all the cars are potentially in the area and what the traffic's like, and you're going to and from work and stuff. Because I don't want fall throughs. No one wants fall throughs. You want to make sure that you're buying the property and you want to commit to completion. Have a bit of pushback. I think a lot of people are scared to push back sometimes. It's a right and a wrong way of doing things. It always is. But you can always be honest with people, but be direct and polite.
So landlords at the moment seem to be selling at a faster rate than buying, which is a shame for the property market, but it's been made very difficult for them. And that's a different conversation that I'm sure we'll have multiple times on this particular podcast. But what that's resulting in is a huge shortage of properties for tenants, and tenancy levels, are reducing. And in turn, the demand is increasing, and we're seeing rents skyrocket. So as you mentioned earlier on in this pod, there's a great opportunity there. But if I am a landlord and I'm approaching retirement age, like I think we had the statistic, there's about 100,000 a year at the moment that will be doing that. And let's say I've got 5 properties. You mentioned portfolio, £9 million portfolio. So for those landlords out there that are thinking of selling and they've got a portfolio of 5, what would be the difference in process? Break it down in kind of idiot terms, if you like, as I'm going to sell that 5 with an estate agent. They're going to sell them as individual properties across different offices with multiple contacts. It's going to be a right pain in the ass. Then you've got auction, and I want to just sell it to one landlord. I want to do the whole lot to one landlord. What would be the big difference for that particular landlord in those circumstances?
The speed. The stats at the moment are that if you have 5 properties, chances are if they're all going through individually, chances are one of them's going to fail to complete at least once.
Yep.
Yeah, you got a
Probably-
year of playing games
Yeah,
there, haven't you, with 5
yeah,
properties
yeah.
easily.
And it could be where you're on the clock yourself, where you want to move abroad, play more golf in Spain, Portugal, which don't blame you. I'm just learning to play golf for myself, so I don't blame them. It's what I would do personally is package them up, and we deal with this a lot. And it goes to our commercial team. Our commercial team have a pool of investors, companies that we work with, and it's that, if you buy bulk, we all know you're going to want a little bit of a discount. But you look at it and go, well, do you know what? Actually, it's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. I'm going to get my money sooner. Yeah, I'll do it. There's always to and fro and pros and cons to every single reason to doing anything in life. For me, if I had 5 properties, I'd package them up and listen to our appraisal. You don't have to obviously take our appraisal. You can say, no, I'm going to go down a private treaty route. That's fine, well and good. We wish you all the very best. We'll give you a call in 2-3 weeks' time, or even a month's time, whatever you decide, and we'll follow up and see if you want to, continue private treaty or package deal up with us.
There's a lot of value in convenience at the moment, isn't there? People are short on time. I know we're talking about landlords there potentially that are hitting retirement age, and they might think, actually, I've built this portfolio over the last 20 years and I want to milk it for everything it's worth, and I've got 2 years to play on. That's totally fine. It's probably a case of you're going to do that. Then you've got someone that's thinking, do you know what? I've just sold my business. I've got my 4 properties. I don't want to touch any of them anymore, and I'm off to Dubai. I'm out of the country, and I want this done by the end of the year. In that case, all of those elements put together, it might be that just moving those 4 properties through auction, as simple as right money and the hammer goes down, that actually that's the best solution for you to guarantee your ultimate goal, which is to move to Dubai and set up camp there and live a life of Riley over there. So I guess convenience plays a big part in that.
We've all sat there on sofas with sellers and said, I'm not selling for anything less than, and then even within a week, 2 weeks time, they're going, well, I would take it though. I would take this offer. And then you just wish that people would be more open. Estate agents, sellers, we're all working together to get to the same aim and goal, that we'll work with you. We'll streamline it. We'll make it smoother for you, because I think our customer service is brilliant. reviews are great. It's good to see, and people want that slick, smooth, no pain in any transaction. So that's where we come in.
You know, when it goes online, you were spoken about the ballroom setup, the classic version of where you kind of visualize what you visualize and you see on TV from time to time. What platform does it go out on? Is it a private platform? You know, is it kind of as simple as someone's on Zoom? What's the kind of deal with that?
So it's streamed over the internet. We use EIG platform, which most auctioneers use. If you're an online bidding platform, it's basically the right move of auction world.
Can anyone just jump on? Do you see an alert live?
Yep, you can. So we advertise the property in the normal way, like you would expect for any estate agent. Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, booming when they're around, Open Bricks, etc., etc. Then we're being able to open the property up to a wider audience, and then if they're interested, it will then get passed through via EIG as the bidding platform.
So you'd be emailed a link effectively.
Yeah.
How do we get auctions to start going on social media? How do we have them hit Facebook, hit YouTube? I get a notification on my phone, say Pattinson's auction's kicked off, and I can just jump on it. Is that the next step? Because that for sure increases the awareness of auctions, and just for an educational piece to be able to sit in and watch it.
Then the next steps should be, in my opinion, the property portals work better and closer with estate agents, because our platform is white labeled. It only gives you more success, showcases your variety of services and talents that people can bid through your microsite. You can place a bid through your microsite that we've provided you. You can, and you should be able to, in my eyes, be able to place a bid through Rightmove, Zoopla on the market. And technology is brilliant. We're talking about AI ruining the world. Well, why can't it help people buy properties better?
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. I just feel there's such a great opportunity for these auctions to start getting streamed on social platforms. You know, if you just look at Facebook and YouTube as an example, I mean, the amount of business that is now done on a TikTok live, you know, it is unbelievable, the amount of sales. And now this TikTok shop and things like that, it just feels that estate agents are scared because the Rightmove, you know, monopoly that's sat there, but auctions have got something that buyers want to see. That's the product. They've got the auction. They've got their own microsite. They've got their own site, their own platform. They don't need Rightmove, but they need the promotion of this is an event that's happening. I just wonder when that's the next step, because that surely skyrockets auctions in the UK.
People are scared not to be on a property portal because they fear that they're not going to then win the business with the client in the first place. But if more agents can showcase the variety of ways of selling a property, you know, when I started, it was a telephone and an applicant box, and that's all you had. That, you know,
Been there.
I quite miss those days, if I'm honest. And six of us all just fighting out, and we were horrible to each other. But you should be able to, right, so this is what we'll do when we're going to market your property. It should be one of those ways of social media should be spoken about more. I know you guys are big on your social media, and I'm sure it wins you a lot of business and equally sells a lot of properties through social media. Love the videos that you do, and you know, more agents should, you know, do videos of properties. Some people think that it makes a decision for a buyer. I hear before they've even gone round there, but at the same time, it saves everyone time, doesn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm all for making things smoother, slicker, and I think the portals and social media should do more for buyers to be able to purchase properties. Yeah.
If you mentioned AI there, is there any particular sort of plugins or thoughts or discussions that have been had internally about how that can impact things?
It's always been spoken about. It's our IT team are very, you know, they're clever guys, and they're always, you know, thinking of the next new way of being able to reach a wider audience. You know, we recently launched in Spain, and it's amazing to see how much success we've had so soon after going live. So yeah, being able to advertise internationally is great. Now it's right. We work internationally. We work everywhere and everywhere. We've got a property in South America, tiny little island, for 4.7 million. If you want to try and buy that,
Who buys islands in South America for 4.7 million, and
we
what do they do?
Mr. Beast.
we've reached out to some agents in America that, because obviously the estate agent model is slightly different. We're trying to see if they can plug their pool of investors, because it's come from one of our Spanish agents, and we've now got, it's like a national trust island in Chile. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, we're now just trying to find the buyer and have the right sort of marketing. And we've done all of the what you'd expect us to do with various advertisements in property magazines, social media campaigns.
Is there a video on YouTube?
There isn't. If you want to go to Chile, you are more than welcome to go to Chile
I'm in.
with the
All
drone.
expenses paid.
I'm in.
That's all I heard.
I've been
I'll,
watching season 2 of Race Across the World, and they are in South America. And
I'll
I
speak
thought
to Justin, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
yeah, coming to our YouTube channel soon. No, I love that. I just think that's just the way life is going. You've got more eyeballs, more ability for people to see things. In terms of territory and geographic elements of things, is becoming more and more irrelevant. And it's about the deal. It's about the opportunity. It's about convenience. It will work for some people. Some people want a hybrid bespoke estate agent. Some people want a traditional agent. Some people want a corporate. Some people want online. Some people want cheap. Some people want auction. Some people want to do it privately with a homemade for sale board. Like, there is all sorts out there. And whatever kind of suits your ultimate goal, it's good to know that auctions are growing at a fast rate. They are moving with the times. There's ideas about moving more with the times, and it's becoming more and more, I guess, trusted, in the world.
Last year was a great market and a rocky market for estate agents and sellers. We can pride ourselves that our instruction to exchange was as high as 84% at parts last year. But when it did get a bit rocky and a bit turbulent, it only went as low as 78%. So that's why more people like to use the word secure sale rather than auction, because of those conversions that most agents won't be able to keep up with those numbers. You'll have your very good months, like we all do, and then you have your bad parts of the year.
Yeah,
But
secret is most corporate agents target 50%.
Yeah.
I don't know whether people out there know that, but that's what they target, is to instruct to complete on 50% of houses that they list, and they're happy with that.
we don't work with any corporates. We pride ourselves on working with independents. So to this day, we still haven't got any corporate estate agent working within our model.
Ryan, talk to us about your business that you work for. Where can people, if there's a seller or a landlord, developer, investor that wants to check out the auction to buy or to sell, what's the website? What's the best place to get in contact with you?
So I'm on social media, Ryan Power Auctions. Our website,
Strong name.
And Power. It's,
Yeah.
people have over the years actually thought I made that name up in staggering, but sometimes you do want it and sometimes you don't want the name. It's Pattinson Auction.co.uk, and we're on all the usual Facebook pages, YouTube, as you'd expect. Simply type in Pattinson Auction into Google and we'll be there. Yeah, it's a great platform. It's a great company to work for, and hopefully the agents that we work with, having success with us. I always say that you have to lead from the front, that being owners, directors, managers, leading from the front. Whenever you opened up your estate agency, if you didn't sell your first property, you didn't give up. You then took on the next property, and then you took on the next one until it actually sold. I don't like it, and this does happen, where agents will try it once, it didn't work, and then they give up. Well,
We've got a very short attention span as a demographic.
Yeah, don't worry about the agents. We go straight to the investors with this one. Love that, Ryan. Very insightful. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on the podcast. And yeah, we'll put all of the links in the show notes as well. So yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much.